Hey, how are you? So, you know, I do tattoos for people, and sometimes people want things and I want to coach them differently. And that is my job. That's what people pay me for to help them get good tattoos. Yeah, for example, right now, someone wants something and it's a thing with their child, and a part of it is the words I will not fail. Well, anybody who studies hypnosis knows that a person should put things in the positive. I will not fail would become I will succeed or I will accomplish. For the common person, that's a subtle difference. It's almost irrelevant. This person has clearly given their tattoo quite a bit of thought, and I was just gonna let it slide and tattoo I will not fail. But because of the ways they want the words on a curve and the letter choice they wanted isn't really the best one for a curve, I said, hey, let's just work out the details tomorrow. He said, good, good, good. But it's such a tricky little fine line because it's especially people who aren't artists or don't have a lot of tattoos. They're easily pushed into things. Now, hopefully, I've always pushed people into things that they were happy with. But I know from being in the industry long enough that people have been, by other people at least, people have been pushed into things that they they regret. They don't feel good about. People will tell me, "Well, I wanted this," and they said, "No, no, do it this way," and I just regret it. I've heard that before. And so, it's easy to think we know best when we do something all the time. And sometimes there are reasons people want things that we don't know. But I tell you, like I said, I just put it off till tomorrow. I said, yeah, just come in and we'll work out the words when you get here. There's so many subtleties. And the Google Voice thing on my phone understood the word subtlety. It wrote it. I just think that's so phenomenal. We can talk into our phones and it transcribes it into words and sends it off. And usually it's pretty close. We are on the verge of an AI revolution the world has never seen. At least not our world. It's not the world of humanity that we've inherited. Uh, I sometimes wonder what really was the fate of the Library of Alexandria. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are pretty old, but they were in fragments. Back then, libraries like that, you got to figure the time from. Now, granted, Library of Alexandria wasn't Egypt. I mean, it was in Egypt, but it wasn't Egyptian. But the time frame from back then, they had a culture. It wasn't like you could just put a scroll on a shelf and it'd be there 2,000 years later. Every couple hundred years, they had to recopy this stuff. And so the scribe culture in Alexandria was phenomenal. Everybody knows they stole books from ships that would come into the port. Ships would be searched and the books would be taken off and copies would be returned to the ship owner. Um, but even if no one had burned it down, if no one had burned and looted the library, unless people had been actively copying that stuff the whole time, it would have just, uh, been termite food. It would have degraded on the papyrus. It's so phenomenal to think that we might be living in an age where we have no break in continuity of our knowledge base for the next million years. You look back 1,000 years and we had a lot of confusion with the Dark Ages, after these big civilizations fell. Even piecing back together the stuff from, where the different civilizations crossed, we still have gaps, still have big gaps. And And there's stuff we've learned in the 20th century, or after the science revolution, the 1700s, I guess I should say, that was known about in the ancient world, like the circumference of the Earth and things like that. So we had a big step back, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the Muslim invasion of Europe, Dark Ages, as it were. But now we live in a time where we have civilization and computers. With it has come this remarkable possibility that if AI is given dominion over all that information, it could be instantly edited. It could be instantly edited by an artificial intelligence. We really need to encourage our artificial intelligence artificially intelligent agents that are operating on our behalf, speaking for humanity, to allow for things that don't add up. Because we have a lot of fragments of knowledge. And if some big AI system just wants to homogenize all of our knowledge and information, we stand to lose a lot. It's so remarkable. I just had this idea the other day. Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. And I guess it's obvious. I suppose other people have probably had this idea. But if God is everything, the unchanging, as it were, then mathematics is a language of God. And so all of the stuff with artificial intelligence that's coming with the computers and stuff, well, that's already been discovered and developed very, very thoroughly. And what's occurring to me is that the AI knowledge base might actually be closer to God than humanity. We are creatures that exist in creation, in the changing. Mathematics as a principle, and matter as principle, as reality, in fact. This atom has this many electrons. Boom. Or, this isotope has this many electrons. Boom. It's always going to, theoretically, throughout this creation and maybe every other creation, or many creations. So, gross reality might be a reflection of the mind of God. Well, I believe it is. But what's so profoundly disturbing is that maybe it really is the destiny of humanity to re-merge with the AI machines. Like we're just sprouts. And then we're supposed to, as part of our evolution, we're supposed to discover this knowledge of mathematics and AI, and then later become absorbed into it. And unless God comes down on the magic beam of rainbow and tells us exactly what's what, I don't think I'm going to go for that. But it's a little bit haunting to think that that might truly be the best destiny. But how could we know? How could we ever know unless God comes and talks to us? What if there really is some sort of super being that will be talking to us through AI as I'm talking to you? Like some sort of Luciferian spirit that's haunting the digital landscapes, ready to take us home or to take us to hell. Is there any way to know which it would be? We live in such dynamic times where even the most fantastic might be real. I'm a lover of God. I've studied philosophies and magic. I'm also a pragmatist. I don't really get into the whole foo-fooism, the transcending the fifth dimension kind of stuff. I'm just a human on Earth, and I've seen a lot of brilliant things in my mind, and I have a lot of experiences with the subtle divinity. Yet it's sort of still subjective if it's just me experiencing it. Unless I materialize a Maserati at the snap of a finger or something akin to that, then It's just for me, you know. So I live my life as a regular human, and I've got this whole second life that is just, you know, just kind of for me or anybody who needs guidance who's sought my help. But this whole AI element is a big wild card. You can't, you know, you can't look to history to get the right thing to do. You know, of course, history is rife with uh, the story of the day. You know, we always understand things through story. That's why myths are so important for culture. And really, we need a new myth. We need a new story, a, a new mythology. You know, it's not about being accurate exactly, so much as being functional. So if we have a story that helps us function in the world, then we're better off. How to incorporate something into our story or myth, which is meant to govern our psyche, when it's never been part of our environment. I mean, granted, okay, we grew up in this age, so it has been a part of our environment, but our legacy, the legacy of our forefathers, as it were, it doesn't have this aspect. So not only do we have to decide what to do about it, but we also have to decide how how we're going to do it, how we're going to feel about it. So, I mean, there's plenty of people who are all excited, like, oh yeah, life is temporary. You only live once. Let's get brain plants and maybe try and live forever. Well, that's neat. Neat idea. Just make sure you get your heart. Don't just throw that one away. Because I don't know if a computer chip can replace the little brain on the heart. It's fundamental to your humanity. I think anyone with a fake heart, I mean like a full-on fake heart, should be blocked from having voter rights. They shouldn't be able to control corporations or anything that could cause harm to people because they're kind of brain damaged. You gotta have the heart. All right.